Michael pulled out a chair for his little daughter, her teddy bear tucked under one arm, her eyes sparkling with joy at the thought of eating out like any other family. His wife Danielle smiled warmly as she tucked a napkin into her lap. It wasn't just a family dinner, it was a celebration. Months of long nights, sweat, and sacrifice had finally paid off. This restaurant, filled with chatter and the smell of freshly baked bread, wasn't just any restaurant. It was their restaurant. Their dream was brought to life. But no one else in the room knew that. The waitress had just placed menus in front of them when a shrill, cutting voice echoed across the room. "They don't belong here." The room fell silent. Forks froze midair. Conversations died instantly. Heads turned. A woman in her mid-50s, clutching a designer purse and wearing entitlement like perfume, marched toward their table. Her lips curled in disdain. She didn't see a family enjoying dinner. She saw something else, something she didn't think belonged. "This is a nice place," she sneered, glaring at Michael. "You people should try somewhere more fitting." Danielle's face tightened. Their daughter clutched her teddy bear closer, confusion clouding her innocent eyes. Michael inhaled slowly, his hands folding over each other on the table. He knew this scene all too well. But tonight wasn't just about him. Tonight was about his family and their dignity. "Ma'am," Michael said evenly, "we're customers just like everyone else. Please let us enjoy our meal." The woman scoffed, tossing her hair. "Customers, huh? Don't make me laugh. This place isn't for—" She lowered her voice, though loud enough for the whole room to hear. "People like you." A ripple of discomfort spread across the restaurant. Some diners looked away, pretending not to notice. Others whispered, their phones already sliding discreetly into recording mode. The tension was suffocating. The waitress, flustered, tried to intervene. "Ma'am, please." But the woman, her name was Karen, as the staff knew all too well, snapped her fingers. No, I demand you seat them elsewhere, far from me. Or better yet, ask them to leave. I come here all the time and I spend good money here. Surely you value that more than this." The insult hung in the air like smoke. Michael's jaw clenched, but he stayed seated. His silence wasn't weakness, it was patience. He glanced at Danielle, who gave the faintest nod. They both knew something Karen didn't. Karen smirked, mistaking his composure for defeat. "That's what I thought," she said, turning to the waitress. "Get them out of here now." The waitress froze, eyes darting between Michael and Karen. The weight of the room pressed heavy on her shoulders. Before she could move, Michael slowly stood up. His height commanded attention, his presence drawing every eye in the restaurant. "Ma'am," he said, voice calm but edged with steel. "Are you sure you want me to leave?" Karen folded her arms, smug and confident. "Yes, and the sooner the better." Michael reached into his jacket. Karen stepped back slightly, her arrogance wavering for a split second. From his pocket, he pulled out a sleek leather folder. He opened it slowly, deliberately, like a man about to reveal a truth no one could ignore. Inside were the official ownership documents of the restaurant, licenses, contracts, and signatures that all carried one name, Michael Carter. He laid them on the table for everyone to see. "Because if I leave," he said softly, "this restaurant leaves with me." The silence that followed was deafening. Karen blinked, her smirk evaporating. She leaned closer, squinting at the papers, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. Murmurs erupted around the room. Someone whispered, "He owns the place." Another diner gasped audibly. Danielle rose to her feet, her hand resting gently on their daughter's shoulder. "This restaurant was built with our hands, our sacrifice and our dreams," she said firmly. "We welcome everyone here, everyone, but we will not tolerate hate." Karen's face flushed red, her arrogance crumbling into disbelief. You're lying. This can't be true. This place is too good to be yours." Michael's eyes sharpened. "Too good? Look around you. Every light, every plate, every table, you're standing in the very dream you tried to destroy. And the only thing that doesn't belong here is your hate." Phones captured every word. Karen's reputation, once shielded by privilege, was unraveling in real time. The whispers grew louder, voices emboldened. She embarrassed herself. Imagine thinking you could tell the owner to leave his own restaurant. This is going viral. Karen staggered back, her confidence shattered. For the first time, she felt the sting of being an outsider. Michael leaned closer, his voice quiet but piercing. "You walked in here thinking you had power. But real power isn't about making others small. It's about lifting people up. You should remember that. Karen's lips trembled. For once, she had no words. Just then, a man in a suit entered the restaurant, his eyes scanning the room. His gaze landed on Michael, then Karen. He strode forward, carrying an air of authority. "Mr. Carter," he said, shaking Michael's hand firmly. "I came to discuss the partnership proposal we talked about. I didn't realize I'd be walking into this." His eyes flicked to Karen with clear disdain. Karen's face was drained of color. She knew him. He was a city council member, a man of influence. And now he was siding with the very family she had just tried to humiliate. The councilman turned to Karen. "Ma'am, I suggest you apologize immediately." Karen's pride fought her tongue, but the weight of dozens of recording phones and the icy stare of the councilman left her no escape. Her voice shook as she whispered, I'm sorry." But the damage was done. Michael didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He simply nodded, gathering his family close. "We don't need your apology," he said firmly. "We need change." The restaurant erupted in applause, the sound crashing over Karen like a tidal wave of justice. Her shoulders slumped as she realized she hadn't just lost her arrogance tonight. She had lost the illusion of her power. But just as Michael sat back down, ready to finally enjoy the meal with his family, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and his expression shifted. A single text glowed on the screen. "They're coming for you, tonight." Michael's heart pounded. His eyes flicked toward the councilman, then back at his family. Whoever sent that message wasn't joking, and whatever storm was coming, it was bigger than Karen. The celebration was over. The real fight was about to begin. Michael just discovered that Karen may not have been acting alone, and something much darker is moving against him and his family. If you're really enjoying this story, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you don't miss my latest uploads. Now let's dive back into the story. Michael sat frozen at the table, the text message glowing on his phone. "They're coming for you tonight." His daughter tugged at his sleeve, her innocent smile a sharp contrast to the storm brewing inside him. Danielle's eyes caught his, silently asking what was wrong. Michael forced a reassuring smile, but his chest tightened with dread. This wasn't just about Karen anymore. Someone bigger, someone dangerous, had set their sights on him and his family. The councilman who had stood up for Michael excused himself after dinner, promising to call in the morning. But Michael couldn't shake the feeling that the message was tied to the night's events. Karen hadn't just embarrassed herself. She had exposed something deeper. Later that night, long after their daughter had fallen asleep, Michael sat in the dim light of his office at the restaurant, staring at the text again and again. He couldn't ignore it. He couldn't risk it. And then came the sound. Tires screeching outside, doors slamming shut. Shadows moved past the windows. Danielle rushed in, her face pale. "Michael, someone's here." Before he could answer, the restaurant doors burst open. 3 men in dark suits stormed in, their faces stern, their presence radiating intimidation. Karen was with them. Her smug smile had returned, now bolstered by backup. "I told you you don't belong here," she hissed. "And tonight we're making sure you leave for good." The men flashed badges, but they weren't police. They were health inspectors. At least that's what they claimed. One of them shoved a clipboard into Michael's chest. "Anonymous reports of violations. We're shutting this place down." Michael's jaw tightened. He knew this game. Corruption wrapped in paperwork. They weren't here for justice. They were here to destroy him. "Funny," Michael said calmly, his eyes locking on Karen. "You couldn't throw us out as customers, so now you're trying to throw us out as owners?" Karen smirked. "I warned you. This neighborhood doesn't want people like you running things." The irony was sharp. The very place she claimed to love would collapse without the family who built it. But Karen didn't care. She wanted power, even if it meant tearing down everything good in her path. One inspector began snapping photos. Another scribbled fake notes. Danielle stood tall beside Michael, her voice firm. "You can try to write us off, but you'll regret underestimating us." And then Michael revealed his ace. He reached under the counter and pulled out a folder. Inside were surveillance recordings from the restaurant cameras. Every moment of Karen's harassment earlier that day. Every hateful word. Every diner who had captured the scene on their phones had already sent their clips to him. Michael had compiled them into a single file. He slid it across the counter to the inspectors. "You're not here because of health violations. You're here because of her. And when the world sees this, they'll see exactly what this is: corruption, fueled by prejudice." The men hesitated, their confidence faltering. They hadn't expected evidence. They hadn't expected resistance. Karen's face twisted with panic. "Don't listen to him. He's bluffing." But just then, headlights swept across the restaurant. Police cars. Not Karen's allies this time, but the councilman, returning with real law enforcement. The inspectors froze. Karen staggered back, her eyes wide. The councilman strode in, his voice thunderous. "I had a feeling you'd try this tonight, and now you've handed me everything I need." The inspectors were quickly surrounded, their authority stripped. Karen shrieked, "You can't do this! You don't know who I am." Michael stepped forward, his voice calm, controlled yet cutting like glass. "We know exactly who you are. And tonight the world will too." The officers cuffed Karen, her protest echoing through the room. Her once arrogant voice now desperate and hollow. The inspectors followed, their clipboards and fake reports confiscated as evidence. The restaurant, silent for a moment, erupted in cheers from neighbors who had gathered outside, watching it all unfold. Justice had not just been served, it had been witnessed. Michael turned to Danielle, his hand gently wrapping around hers. Their daughter, now awake and peeking from behind her mother's leg, whispered, "Daddy, are we safe now?" Michael knelt down, his eyes soft. "Yes, baby girl, we're safe. Because the truth always wins in the end." The crowd outside applauded, chanting his name, their support a tidal wave against the hate that had tried to break him. But deep inside, Michael knew this wasn't over. If Karen had allies willing to go this far, there were bigger forces at play. And this victory, as sweet as it was just the beginning of a much larger battle. He glanced at the councilman, who gave a knowing nod. "You've made enemies tonight, Michael. Powerful ones, be ready." Michael stood tall, determined in his eyes. He was ready. For his family, for his dream, for justice. Because this wasn't just about a restaurant anymore. It was about proving that dignity and respect will always outlast hate. Justice had been served. Life lesson. Hate may try to silence you, but truth will always speak louder. Real strength isn't in tearing others down, it's in standing firm when the world tries to break you. If you were in Michael's shoes, would you have exposed Karen's actions right away or waited until she trapped herself? Comment your answer below, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this.